Welcome to Nepal Drives, and today we have with us one of the most interesting cars we've had in quite some time. Let me introduce you to the iCaur V23. So this is the Chery iCaur V23, and this is far from your generic electric EV. You can just tell by the design of it and the expression on my face that I absolutely love it. It's got a bit of the FJ Cruiser look, a bit of the Defender, almost like a Jimny and a Defender had a baby. And if you remember the Corando by SsangYong, it kind of looks like that. But regardless, it has its own characteristic, it has its own style. And I love that about this car. This car is brought into Nepal by the same folks that bring in the Jaycos and Omoda. This, you will notice, is spelled iCaur. So this also falls under the Chery brand name, but to circumnavigate some copyright issues, it is spelled iCaur. But this is the same global iCaur V23 that you get all over the world. Now it has its own styling and I'm loving it. First off, you'll notice the front fascia, which has these beady little circular headlights. And along with that, you'll also notice that the front tires are visible. And you'll also notice amazing approach angles of 43 degrees. So this means it should be able to get over some difficult situations if you take it off-road. And as far as I understand, this bumper is customizable, so you can remove it if you're planning on going to some serious off-road locations. You'll also notice sensors in the front, which means it has some sort of intelligent driving. If you move on to the side, you'll see a boxier design. You get steel rims, which I think is a really nice touch, and you've got plenty of space right here, so you can possibly upgrade to bigger all-terrain tires, which will give it even more off-road capability. This here is plastic, which makes sense. You're bound to scuff and scratch it a lot. You've got a side step here, which makes ingress easier. And if you notice, flat doors, but this is not your electronic door handle. It is manual. Press it in, pull it, open. Simple, logical. And I also like this design element right here. I'm sure you can fit packs in here like you do in your Defenders, which will give it an even better look. The rear carries the same boxy curvy design that is implemented throughout the car. You'll notice this section right here, which has a tail light and a camera, but this is usually where you would find a more conventional spare tire in more older SUVs. But this is what you get here. And if you open the boot, you'll be greeted with a massive boot. Although with the seats up, you've got around 317 liters of space, but with it folded flat, you've got plenty of space to store your belongings. You can also drop this section down to reveal 90 liters of more space. You've got a few more compartments here, and you can reveal this space for even more of your belongings. At the moment, we've got fire extinguisher, tire sealer, and inflator. You'll also notice some sensors here and the incredible departure angle. There's no frunk underneath the bonnet. You can't open this, but you can open this section here where you can put in your windshield wiper fluid. I'll never tire with the way you get in and out of this car. Although older people might have a more difficult time getting in and out, but I do enjoy it. Anyways, inside you've got this real retro, modern off-road look about the interiors, which I'm really liking. First, I want to show you this section. Buttons and dials, toggles even. This makes it so easy to navigate the system when you're driving, especially in an off-road car when you're moving around. You don't want to be fiddling with touchscreen units. You've got dials for your AC, even for your volume, which you don't really see a lot anymore. And if you need anything more than what's available here, then you can get into the screen. Drop this down for a quick navigation screen where you can change the brightness of the screen. You've got light mode, screensaver display, hill descent control, auto hold, which you can turn on and off, and you've also got your headlights right here. This little section gives it the off-road characteristic that I really enjoy. You've got your pitch, you've got your roll, and as long as this image is right side up, you should be good to go. What I think could have been improved is the lack of a digital screen for the driver, which I will complain about later, but this was a massive miss. There's a gaping space here, and you've got a singular headlight adjustment dial, which you don't really use that often, but it is quite easily accessible. You've got soft touch material here, but this right here is hard touch. I think you can remove these knots to have some modification here, which brings me to another point. I love these details where you've got tiny bolts which give it a really off-road appeal. You've got a signage here that says born to play. In any other car I would consider it a little cliched, a little bit tacky, but I like it. In terms of space, compartments, you've got netted door cabins here which can hold up to 2 liters of water. You've got space under your armrest for your phone. There are some ports here where you can plug in your phone. Although there is no wireless charging, this is just a space for your phone or your NFC card. You've got compartments here which is modular. You can remove these for one large space or put these back in for your cup holders. You can also remove this as a whole to reveal even more space. The seats are comfortable. You've got these bolsters that will keep you in place when you're off-roading in rocky terrain. Overall, it's very comfortable. You've got heated seats, which is a plus for cold temperatures. You only get tilt adjustment, no telescopic adjustment, but I think I found a decent driving setting for my body. I will complain about the outside rearview mirrors later, and not having one touch up and down window controls is a miss, I think, but you can also use voice control to do various things like open all windows.
Sorry, this question is beyond my ability.
No, alright, let's give it one more try.
Hello.
Open all windows. There you go. Now this is the portion of the video where I complain about some parts of the interiors that I don't like. Firstly, there's no glove box. I think a glove box would have been nice, although you do get a hanger of sorts which can take up to, what, 3 kgs? Yep, 3 kgs of weight, so you can hang something here, but I think a glove box would have been nice. And then there's this screen, although I think this will be improved with software updates in the future. This right now looks very cluttered, and this is mainly because of the driver instrument cluster being integrated into this section. At the moment, it looks fine. You've got all your information that you need right here, but the instant you turn on the camera, it gets very cluttered. You've got your driver gear selection information right here. You've got blinkers going on all over the place, and it gets very difficult to find your bearings in this screen, although after a certain time you will get used to it, hopefully, but this is still very distracting. And to think they've gone through so much effort in rendering this car. Let me give you a closer look. Come on in. So this car, we have both our doors open on the left side, and it shows you that both doors are open. If I turn on the left indicator, the indicator goes on. Turn it around. The brake lights. So much effort into rendering this, but then cost cutting with the absence of a digital instrument cluster. Doesn't really make sense. But this is about it in the front seat. Let's move on to the back to see how things are back there. So you've got this hand grab to make ingress into the back seats easier. Step in and there is an immense amount of space. Incredible knee room despite having the seats adjusted to my settings. And I've got good headroom as well. Where there is little space is breadthwise. You can fit 2 people in the back comfortably, and this is strictly a 2-seater. Back here there is a seat belt for the middle person, but the person is not going to have a very good time seated in the middle. The backrest is horrible. The seat presses up against you in a very uncomfortable way. I'd only put someone I really hate in the middle. Although you could get around the city from one point to A, but yeah, the third person is not going to have a very good time. Anyways, you've got map compartments here with these nets. More netting here, which can hold your bottle up to 2 liters comfortably, but over time the slack will increase and you might have to change this section right here. You've got a compartment for your phone, but there is no aircon vent for the rear seat or charging cable anywhere, although you could thread a wire from underneath the central armrest in the front and have it plugged into a charging source, and you can charge your phone from there. Apart from that, incredible room, incredible space. I'm really surprised. So how is the iCaur V23 to drive? Let's start with the visibility. It's a bit of a mixed bag. The front visibility is absolutely amazing. I'm seated really high up, which is the way I like to drive when I'm driving a car such as this. Well, off-road design cars, because I can see the entire bonnet from one corner to the other. And because I know there is a very short overhang, I know where the tires are and I know where I'm going. So in terms of maneuverability and positioning yourself in difficult terrain or difficult road conditions, this is a huge plus. The inside rear view mirror is also really good and I can see what's going on behind me. But there are a couple of issues. The outside rear view mirror is horrid. It's too small, it's vertically oriented, which means it can be useful in off-road conditions, but in general, other driving conditions in the city, it is just not up to par. It should have been larger, there should have been more adjustability. I can't see what's going on behind me as well as I would have liked to. But that is something that can be improved and should be improved in the future. Another complaint that I do have is the lack of a digital instrument cluster that is dedicated to the driver. Yes, I understand cost cutting, but the thing is, this is a car that can get away with cost cuttings. What I mean by that is a very frugal, very traditional digital console right in the center for a driver to see the speed, the range. It should not be adding a lot of cost, and it has a lot of benefits. Because every time you try and look at the screen on a very sunny day, you get a lot of reflection, which can be very distracting to the driver. A small tiny digital instrument cluster would not have affected the design, nor would have really added a whole lot to the cost. So in terms of power, you get a 100 kilowatt motor that is paired with a 59.93 kilowatt hour battery. And with that, you get a total of a 401 kilometer range, which is in CLTC. And that means real world range is significantly lower, and you're more likely to get around 310 to 320 kilometers on a full battery charge. But apart from that, drivability is fairly decent. You get a total of 180 Newton meters of torque, which is plenty, and you get 4 driving modes. Essentially 4, you get 5 if you consider the individual driving mode, which is one where you can customize your driver setting. So you get your conventional Eco, Sport and Comfort mode. Now Eco mode is more than capable of getting you in and around the city. That is the mode that I've been using most, because overtaking maneuvers within city limits is more than enough with Eco mode. Now if I want a little bit more power, I just switch to Comfort mode, and then I get a little bit more power, and if I want to have a little bit more fun, I switch to Sport mode. Now you will notice that there is this dial right beside my left knee, which makes changing driving modes so easy, and it has this really nice feel to it as well. And when you're driving off-road and you're moving around a lot, these knobs, well, not the driving mode, you'll probably not change driving modes a lot when you're driving off-road, but you get knobs for the air condition, for the audio, which makes life so much easier. You don't have to fiddle with the screen, which is something that I think is catching on in cars more and more now. There are more buttons being reintroduced into the cabin, which I'm really glad of. For a car like this, I think this just adds to the driving fun. Now it seems like we found ourselves in a bit of a pickle. As you can see, there is a lot of gravel on this side of the road, and it's not getting enough traction for the rear wheels. So we're trying to get it out of this situation, which seems pretty simple, but we're going to switch it to slippery mode, try and get a little bit more traction, and try to get out of this situation. Right, so now we're in drive mode. Let's get our seatbelt on. Right now there's a lot of tire slippage, as you can see. So we are going to shift into slippery mode, which hopefully gives the car a little bit more traction, and we will try and get out of this situation. There you go, right there. Ooh, it's having a bit of a difficult time. Let's try that again and try not to lose momentum this time. All right, let's go. Nice and easy. Come on now. Easy does it. Ooh, I was trying to. Yes. So the key is not to be too aggressive with your accelerator, and it will get you out of tricky situations. However, a set of all-terrain tires with better grips would have made things a lot easier. So the thing with EVs is you get a lot of instant torque, but at the same time that means there can be a lot of wheel spinning. Regardless of the traction control system that does try to do its best, you will have to be a little gentle with your right foot if you're ever stuck in such situations. And like I said, a better set of tires, all-terrain tires with better grips, a little knobbier set, will make things a lot easier. Right, now we've driven the iCaur V23 plenty on the tarmac, but this is a car with 210 millimeters of ground clearance. It's got a hand grab for the driver. Of course, we need to take it out of the tarmac and into some difficult situations, which we're just about to do. Okay, so we've just entered a bit of off-road patch. Well, not exactly off-road, just slightly bumpier roads, which does have a fair bit of mud and slush in it. And the soft suspension now really starts making sense. You get a lot of feedback, and the bumps and crests are very well handled by the iCaur V23. Now everything starts coming together. with the 210 millimeters of ground clearance, I really don't have to worry about anything scraping under the body of the car, unless I'm absolutely a moron and drive it over something that no car can get over. Then I should be good. The second is the visibility. I can see what's going on. I know where the tires are, and even when I'm driving over tricky terrain, I can position the car to my liking, which is a huge plus. Of course, a second motor in the front would give it significantly more off-road capabilities. With power going to all four wheels, you'd be able to get more traction, and we know that there is a lot of computerized gizmo potential in Chinese cars to get you through pretty difficult situations. But because power is only being fed to the rear wheels, you will have to be careful about where you take the car and how you approach difficult situations. For instance, you don't want to stop in a place where you know there's little traction, like in some slippery mud or places where you can't get momentum once you stop. Momentum is your friend. If you're going to surpass somewhere that is slippery or gravelly, or where you know the car is going to have difficulty, maintain momentum. Remember, you only have one motor, which means you will have to use your skills to get yourself out of difficult situations. Now, in case you do find yourself stuck on some slippery surface, slippery mode is your friend. So what it seems to be doing is not giving instant power to the rear wheels. It gradually increases power, which means the tires have time to grip the surface, get some traction, and get you out of sticky situations. Having explained how the car helps you get out of tough situations, I promptly decided to show you how to put yourself in said tough situations. But maybe I was a little overconfident. Despite several attempts, it looked like I had bitten off more than I could chew. Right. So this is after the fourth failed attempt of trying to get up this slippery road. I was nervous about going up it because it's super muddy, super slushy, and any off-roader worth its salt would have a difficult time getting up this hill. But I thought I'd give it a try, despite the lack of a dual motor and a good set of tires. We gave it a go. We're going to give it one more go. So we've been using slippery mode up until now to mitigate the wheel spin. Now I'm going for speed and power. I'm switching to eco mode, and I'm going to give it all the beans. Wish me luck. Alright, speed and momentum. Let's go. Come on now. Speed and momentum. 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 Oh, too much wheel spin. Come on. That was absolutely impossible. We're stuck. Alright. I guess that's that. You have to learn to concede defeat from time to time. Although I think we got further than I honestly expected. I knew this would be difficult. This would be a challenge. But we almost had it. We almost had it. I reckon with a better set of tires that is slightly knobbier, I think we would have been able to get past that little section. It is what it is. So that brings us to the end of the review. I love the car, but I think it was a bit anticlimactic the way things ended. That off-road bit was very difficult. It was slushy, very little traction, and like I said earlier, I think with the right set of tires, it would have been able to get through that obstacle, but it was a little bit too much for the iCaur V23. However, having said that, if we were in drier conditions and it was just a matter of getting over obstacles that are on the ground, I think the 210 millimeters of ground clearance is a godsend. You'd be able to take this car here and there to maybe slightly difficult terrain, but if it's rainy, if it's slippery and you don't have the right set of tires, this is not a serious off-roader. Now, I would never pit this against something like the Jimny. The Jimny is a specialist. Although grossly overpriced, it has spectacular off-road capabilities and it would have been able to overcome the obstacles that we faced earlier in the iCaur V23. However, this comes in at 47 lakh, and you need to understand that this is not a serious off-roader. Well, not in this configuration at the moment. Maybe better tires, a second motor in the front would make it much more off-road capable, but at the moment this is a light off-roader that can get you out of difficult situations, but you don't want to find yourself in difficult situations in this car. Now, I don't really think there is a specific rival to this car. The design in itself is amazing. I think people will buy it for that. The range though can be an issue. You've got a generous 401 kilometer CLTC range claimed by the company, but in real world situations that drops down to 300 to 325 kilometers. Still enough for you to get to Pokhara, enjoy a night, charge it and come back, which is usually what people of Kathmandu do, or people staying in different parts of Nepal do. But yeah, range could have been better, but still, this is a car that I think I could fall in love with. I love how it looks, I love how it drives, I love the feeling that it gives me when I'm inside and driving the car. This is a car I could make memories in. It's got character. Well, that was the end of the review. Make sure you like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to our channel. It helps us a lot. And we'll catch you in the next one. See you.